Now that we've been using Gmail for a little while, it's time to get a little more control over our inbox and decide exactly how we want this to look. So let's start with the basics. When I jump into my inbox without any setup at all, I get one big long list of all my email, whether it's coming from the social networks or people writing to me, read or unread. First thing, most basic option, click that gear and choose Configure Inbox. This is where we all started a while ago. So I'm going to click Social, Promotions, and Updates because Forums, of course, is the messages coming from our Google Groups. That's need-to-know information. I don't want to miss that. So I'm going to leave Forums turned off so that those messages land right in my primary inbox. I'm going to go ahead and say Save. It's going to reload my inbox, and of course I'm going to get some tabs across the top here now. The tabs that I'm about to, there we go. The tabs are primary, social, promotions, and updates. So all those Google Plus messages that were here a moment ago, well, of course they're over in social. Let's see if I've got anything in promotions. Nope, cleared that guy out. That'll be newsletters and things. And then updates is usually going to be stuff like this file was edited and this file you have an invitation to edit, that kind of stuff. Things being shared in Drive mostly. And then primary is going to be my read and unread mail. So that's an easy way to go, and it organizes things nicely. Next, though, you might want to get a little more interesting. When you come to your inbox here on the left, if you hover your mouse there for a moment, you're going to get a tiny little arrow appearing. Clicking it is going to give me some choices. Now, important first is using the important feature that Google has created, the little algorithm where they can try and figure out based on who you reply to and who you don't, and if this is an automatically generated message, it'll color this yellow. And you'll see that same symbol over on the side here for important. So these are messages that Google recognizes as likely important people or important messages that you are going to want to reply to or already have replied to in some cases. Whereas over in social, of course, none of these are considered important. Google figured that out right away. So if I switch to important first, that's going to grab those messages that have been marked as important, and instead of using these categories across the top, now it's going to break it up into important and everything else. Next is unread first. This is a nice option if you just want to see all your unread messages and then the rest of your messages. So here, the social stuff is in there, the replies and everything else are in there, but these are my unread messages. Then the rest. That's alright, that's functional, that's a good one. Starred first is just like important first, but rather than using Google's algorithm for the starred messages, these are messages that you have actively chosen to star with this little star symbol that's at the beginning of any of these messages. So if I decided that this one down here is really important and I click the star, it's not going to take long before my screen refreshes here, and it's going to throw that little guy up to the top here. I can also find them, of course, when I come over to my starred menu on the left. Now there's a lot of starred messages in here, but the difference is that this one and this one are in my inbox. The rest I've archived. Alright, so when I come back to my inbox, give it a little refresh. There we go. These two messages are now both up there, and if I were to unstar either of them or if I were to archive either of them, they would disappear from this inbox. Next option is priority inbox. This is a powerful one, and if you're not using the initial category tabs, you're probably going to jump into this priority option because it's a nice one. So with priority, by default, the way it gets set up is the important and the unread are going to show up here. The starred messages are going to show up here. And then the rest of my messages are going to show up here, including the unread ones that were not important. So the social messages are getting dumped to the everything else section here. So that can be a handy way to, again, group all your mail and get the stuff that you really probably need to see right up front. But I don't use starred a whole lot. As much as I had a bunch of starred messages there, it's not my go-to spot. You can customize this further, and this is where it gets powerful. Go ahead and click that gear, come to settings. When this opens up, I need to look at the top and I need to choose inbox. Alright, now it's set on priority inbox because that's where I left it last, and you can see this is the default setup. I have an empty slot here. I have an extra section. I can do 4 sections here. So I'm going to say add a section. And maybe I want to use, say, my unread as an option. I'm going to go ahead and put my unread messages there. Take a peek at that real quick. Come to the bottom, save my changes. There we go. So now I'm seeing my unread messages here, and then my important and unread messages up here. But as I said, I don't use starred that much. I really don't need starred sitting there. So I'm going to come back into my settings real quick. I'm going to choose inbox again. And this time, instead of just removing starred, let's see what else I can do. I can scroll down a little bit once I click on more options, and I see my different labels here. These are the labels that I have set up over on the far left side here for things like my pay stub or different memos. Probably not something I need right up in my face, but if you were a fan of the way First Class would show you your sent messages, you'll notice at the bottom here there's an option for sent mail. If I click that one, and I'll leave all my sent mail there, and I go ahead and save that guy, this time it's going to load up, and of course my important and unread that I really need to see is right there. And now my sent mail. So if you really like seeing mail that you've recently sent, that's all going to show up right there, followed by the not so important unread messages and the everything else. Now of course this is showing me right here 1 to 25 of 169. And then in my sent mail here, you'll notice of course again 1 to 5 of all the sent messages. You want to see a little bit more? Click the 3 dots and say, no, I need 10 messages of my sent mail. And as long as there's that many or more, it'll show all those messages. So that's a much more powerful way to organize and categorize and separate your different messages. The only little hot tip I'll throw in at the end here is that you'll probably want to set up a theme. If you haven't put any themes into the background yet, you'll notice there's a nice visual break here between these sections in my email. But if I have not set a theme and my background is white, then these all kind of blend together and it's a little harder to see where the different sections of your email actually are. So check it out, play with some of those features, and I suspect you'll be much happier being able to control your email in just the way you want to do it.